Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. I'm a half a bottle in of red wine.
Wow, that's quite a bit of wine.
Yeah, had a sirloin
Half a
steak.
bottle.
We're in full quarantine mode here in California, so there's not much else you can do. So we're here recording podcasts, going deep. We're going deep inside the listener grab bag of questions, and we found a good
why
one.
don't you, before you go on to that, why don't you share with your audience just a little personal information? How was your steak cooked tonight? I've never heard of this.
So I shouldn't have put the box away because I'm too lazy to get up and get it. But it's called a sous vide kit, SOUS. Link will be underneath the video in the show notes. No, I don't get any revenue from it. But it's it's like a container. You fill it with water, and then it has like this water heater that you plug in, and you can set it at whatever temperature you want. And it's meant to cook steak, so you put it at 135 Fahrenheit and leave it for 2 hours to 4 hours. For some meats, you could put up to 24 hours, although I hear that that's a little too much. So the sweet spot is between 2 to 6 hours, depending on the cut that you have. You get it. You get a steak out of it, sous vide.
No, and
we've got a lot of questions, but we picked one really good one that we're going to focus on today for this podcast. Which, Chris, we haven't done this in a while. Guess the episode. No. And I don't even know it, but guess it.
I have no idea. Exactly. 379.
So we went deep, guys, deep into the listener grab bag. And we got some good stuff for you guys, okay? We got... Chris, you know the question because you've seen it. You didn't really read it, apparently, until the second time around.
I did read it. I just had forgotten. Okay. I read this whole thing.
You know what? I give you a pass because today was a busy day, but a busy good day. We seem to have gotten 2 new clients and several new students for both of our academies. So we're on to a good start.
You're leaving out worked out a new site venture too. Worked out the specifics.
It's we have the beginnings of 2020 was really a year to it's been a great year, but it's been a year to optimize for us. I guess that's their proper word.
Great year from a business perspective for us. I don't know about a great year in general.
Yeah, in general it's like the worst year ever, but clinical research business wise, I actually put a quote on Instagram today, and I ran an ad behind it because we got to do some branding. 2020 made clinical research the industry to be in, but it has been a really good year for research. Other than that, it's been a horrible year for the world and for
everything
society.
Else. Yeah, everything else. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into the grab bag of questions and the pre-grabbed question. This guy's been watching listening since like 2013 or something like that. So a long time. He's had enough time to build his career all the way up to like a director level for a sponsor. So it's a biotech company, somebody from a biotech company. They have constrained budgets, as we all do these days. 3 questions. We're in the process of site selection. So this is a sponsor. Okay, keep it in mind. If you're a sponsor, pay attention. If you're a site, maybe pay attention. I don't know. What are the main points? Question number 1. What are the main points from a site perspective that I should be mindful of? So that's like a really...
Points.
What are the main pain points? Too much red wine. What are the main pain points from a site perspective that I should be mindful of? I love when sponsors ask this, like what pains the site? I guess it depends on the site. Some sites are pained because they don't have cash flow. Other sites are pained because they have too many studies. Other sites are pained because they don't have very many patients, and others are like a combo of the 3.
poor quality of data. Okay, can be all kinds of issues.
Lack of
But yeah,
staff,
yeah.
understaffed. So pain points from sites. When it comes to site selection, there's not too many pain points from sites. What do you think? I don't think there's too many pain points. Sites want studies. If they think they
Okay,
can get patients, they want the study.
so are we looking at this from the sponsor's perspective or the site's perspective?
Well, we're looking at it from the spot. We're answering his question from the sponsor perspective, but he's asking us for the site's perspective.
Sure.
So we can do both.
And so the first problem as a sponsor viewing a site is going to be, does this site truly qualify? Are they legitimate? Because sites are going to try and get any study they can, right? If they're interested in the study,
even in a year like 2020, where they're getting offers like left and right.
So it depends. It depends on the site, but oftentimes sites, when they want the study, if they're going to go through the steps, right, the feasibility questionnaire process and all of that, then obviously they probably want the study. So they're going to say whatever they feel is necessary to get the study. And unfortunately, from the sponsor side, it's hard to verify much of this or any of this, what is stated from the site side. And really the only way to, the feasibility questionnaire doesn't really give you much information to verify anything. Really, in my opinion, it comes down to the CRA's perspective, right?
And in this,
For example,
that's going to lead us to the next questions because they don't have that. They don't have the budget for this. But
right,
keep going, keep going.
So if you're strictly kind of pursuing a site just through a questionnaire, it's going to make it really difficult to see if they legitimately qualify without having a one-on-one conversation.
That's
I just don't see how that's
the gist.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't see how that's going to happen.
My suggestion. Well, here's my suggestion to the sponsor, and take it from me, a site owner since 2005. Well, 2006 really, but 05 I started the transition. You need to verify as much as you can from the perspective of can they enroll patients, because let's say, okay, as long as they can enroll patients, you're good, because even if they have a coordinator who is inexperienced,
and the PI for that matter,
and the PI, so let's say they have, like, worst case scenario, an inexperienced PI and a coordinator that both embellish how much experience they actually have. Okay.
Yep.
Even if in that worst case scenario you get into that situation, you can still remedy that problem with good monitoring. So you just send a good CRA.
Additional oversight from the sponsor side.
Right. You send a good CRA in there and you let them know, hey, this site's going to need like a lot of hand holding, but they do have good patients. They have patients in the study. We're trying to minimize deviations, all that stuff. So that, like, even worst case scenario, my point is, even worst case scenario of their experience, it's a salvageable situation.
So from what you're saying, the focus should be on, can they truly get patients?
And that's right.
Right. I mean, you still want to verify experience if you can, but your really biggest concern is patient enrollment. Can the site enroll? Yeah. I would agree.
That stuff that sponsors do with, hey, send us a de-identified list of patients on completely pointless. Yep. Like, they're just, you might as well just ask them to send you random letters and numbers on an Excel sheet, because that's what they're going to give you. Right?
Yeah, even if they don't actually have it, yes.
The ones who would actually have it will send you a de-identified list. Even them, they're probably going to just like send you some numbers that is not going to be reflective of what they actually have, unless it's like an academic institution that have like their own dedicated systems and they can just print something that's de-identified, and it's easier for them to do that than to make something up. So really what you need to do is get on a Zoom call. Okay, the person asking this question, get on a Zoom call just like Chris and I are doing right now, and ask the site face to face, hey, what do you have? Like, you shouldn't pre-send them any questions. to give them time to prepare, just ask them like we are now and get a sense of their reaction, their body language, um, their facial expressions, and then how quickly they answer, because you can get a better sense of how much they're embellishing if you're doing this in person, or as
Mhm.
close to in person as you can, which is a Zoom.
Yep, I agree.
Chris agrees. We can end the podcast right now.
Well, there's one more question though.
There's two more.
Yeah, we're kind of covering
Oh, we
both
kind
right
of
now, aren't
answered
we?
2A. Yeah. But let me read question 2 first for those that because maybe we missed something too. Okay.
Sure,
So,
sure.
in absence of a site qualification visit, what should I include on the feasibility questionnaire to thoroughly vet each site to ensure we are selecting only those that will perform adequately?
And I would say I don't think you can. I don't think there's anything you can do
I don't either. And
other than other than the standard questions, right? Standard questions. How many patients and all the standard stuff. How many patients can you enroll? How many are in your database? All of that.
And unfortunately, at these sponsor companies, whether they're big or small, like in this case, a small sponsor, they rarely, if ever at all, have anyone on their team that has been at a site level before.
Now, I will say one thing, and this is kind of self promotion, right?
Well, go. I mean, we got nothing but time.
Sure, sure. One thing you can do is maybe hire something like a site network or an SMO, right? In which
Oh, go figure. Like DSCS.
exactly, in which they have these relations with these sites, and they can hopefully more legitimately answer your questions,
I like
opposed to opposed to sites that you're unfamiliar with,
I
and
like
that
that. You know why? It's because now you're putting the site network, like DSCS, which is stands for Chris Sauber. We're ending
yep.
that contest on the audiobook of guess what DSCS stands for. We're giving you the answer now. Dan Sfer,
Yeah,
Chris Sauber. Um, we now put skin in the game. So if a sponsor comes to us and says, "Hey, we need your best sites for this study," we look bad if we don't produce. So, and we have
correct.
influence on the sites in our network.
No,
We can call them up. We can text them and say, "Hey, sponsor XYZ is upset that you're not enrolling. Can you screen someone next week?"
not only that, but we can also, I think, more legitimately vet the site, opposed to somebody that has no relationship with these sites.
Mhm.
But right, we
And we
can
have something to
apply
lose if
pressure.
we're and we have something to lose if they don't perform, because that sponsor is
Right,
not going to want to work with us again,
correct.
right?
And again, it's not just promoting us; it's anybody like us, right? Of
There's a
course,
few
we would
out
like you to
there.
come to us, though.
Come
Yep,
to us, we're better, but there's a few out there. So,
yep.
okay, good. I like that answer. And question 3: do you have any other insight you can provide in regards to the overall study process, like enrollment, recruitment, retention, monitoring, study maintenance, as it pertains to oncology? Any insight you could provide would be extremely helpful. Um, so, what do you think about this? Like oncology, any extra
I,
color you want to add?
I don't really have an answer to this. Do you?
Yeah, I do. So, for oncology, most on not most, all oncology clinics that I've ever monitored or ever even talked to use EMR, electronic medical records. Now, you may not feel like you can ask for access to their EMR. I don't think you're allowed, but they should be able to provide a print, like some kind of just like a
Certified
macro
copy.
overview of their database, right? So if it's a breast cancer study, and they're like most of them, if all of them I've seen use EMR. So if it's a breast cancer study, you can actually just see, like, you don't even need to get into the inclusion exclusion criteria. Just see what stage Like that's the most macro level things in a breast cancer is what stage they're at, right? Stage one, neoadjuvant, stage 1A, two, and then it goes on. So you can actually ask for like a snapshot and they can de-identify it and all that stuff. And I know we just said that that's a waste of time to ask for a de-identified list, but when it comes to oncology, most oncology clinics have EMRs. Like I said, every single one that I've worked with has EMRs. So I think in that case, you can ask for a snapshot of their EMR breakdown. And I think you'll have a good assessment there because oncology is very time sensitive. So somebody may qualify right now. It doesn't mean they're going to qualify in 6 months. I mean, they might not even be alive in 6 months, unfortunately. Or their cancer may have progressed to where they're no longer qualified. It's not like schizophrenia where, you can use the same patients from years ago. Like with oncology, it's very much in the now. So you can ask for a snapshot like currently in your practice, who do you treat? And most cancer clinics that do research also treat the patients there at the clinic. Unlike other indications where you may just have standalone research clinics and not
I
treating
was
patients.
actually I actually thought up that question about 2 minutes ago while you were talking. If you've ever heard of strictly a research oncology site, because I can't envision that would work very well.
It wouldn't work very well. I'm sure they exist somewhere, but the
Yeah,
majority, and I would say 80%, if not higher, do community cancer clinic or academic cancer clinic and research. So in
right.
oncology, and there's another thing with oncology. With oncology, the patients are very motivated to do research. They're often looking for, uh, alternatives to help
Innovative treatments.
innovations to either extend their life, improve their quality of life, or better, right?
Hmm.
Unlike every other indication where people are not really looking for that kind of stuff. Like they already have it.
Right.
It's not life or death for the most part. With cancer, it is life or death for the most part.
Oftentimes. Yep.
So you have motivated patients. So it's less difficult to get patients, but it's still difficult if you're starting from a limited patient population. So I think asking for either access to an EMR, maybe you can sign whatever forms they give you, and then you can access their EMR as like read only, and then you could look for yourself. Or maybe you can go in person or do it over a Zoom. And just like I'm asking Chris right now, let's say I'm the sponsor and Chris is the coordinator for that site. Chris, can you go in your EMR right now and just let me know how many stage 1 breast cancer patients you have? Just
Mm-hmm.
approximate. And if Chris starts stumbling over his answers, I mean, he should, if he's at the clinic, he's at his house now, but if he's at the clinic, he should have access to the computer and he should be able to do it within a minute, right? And if it's taking longer than that, or if he just can't do it, that leads me to believe that there's not too many patients there.
There could be a legitimate excuse. Maybe I don't have access to the EMR, right? I mean, yes, you would expect the coordinator to have access, but maybe I don't for
Right,
some reason,
right. Then
which
I would
does
ask.
happen,
Then I would ask for the PI. Can I talk to the PI when he has time or she
right?
has time?
Right.
I would ask them. And you know what? The
Or
PIs are usually less likely to embellish than the than the coordinators
so
or the
that's a good
site
point.
directors.
That's a good point. That's very true. It's not a full guarantee that they won't, but I think that's very true. I think typically that's the case.
I think so too, and I think a lot of sponsors don't know that. Matter of fact, a lot of sponsors would assume the inverse, that the PI would embellish and the coordinator wouldn't. And in
Right.
reality, it's not the case. It's the
Right.
PI usually is closer to the reality than the coordinator or the site director or the site owner.
Really, if you're going to do a Zoom meeting, I mean, really, if you want to test
And
the
that's what they're
site,
doing nowadays. They're doing Zoom.
Right. And if you want to test the site, what I would recommend actually to answer the question 3 here is speak with, because usually the coordinator has to give more time to site qualification visits, right? So do the typical, say I'll need 20 minutes with the PI and I'll need the rest of the time with the coordinator. But ask the coordinator during your time in which you expect to be one-on-one, right? No PI present. Ask them questions that you're going to later ask the PI and see if you get the same answers.
Because they're not going to be doing it at the same time, most likely.
Correct.
I'm going to be doing a Zoom with you first, Chris. You're the coordinator, and then I'm going to be doing a Zoom later separately with the PI.
Correct. And then see if we get the same answers. And expect
Good point.
more than likely the PI is going to give you more truthful
Realistic.
answers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really good point. Did we miss anything from his questions 1, 2, or 3? Main pain points from a site. That's tough because it's a lot of pain points. In the context of a site qualification visit, they want the study. For the most part, they want the study. They will let you know at the SQV if they don't want the study. They will let it be known.
Well, they probably cancel the SQV if they don't want the study. Why even do the
right?
visit
Sometimes things slip through the cracks and they get scheduled.
Sure.
In the absence of a SQV, what should I include on the feasibility questionnaire? Don't waste your time. Do it in person, or not in person, but virtual, like through Zoom, in real time, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, do you have any other insight you can provide? So I think we answered all the questions. At the end of the day, is this going to help you much more than you currently have, I guess, been doing? Probably a little bit. Is it going to make a difference in not selecting a site or selecting a site that you otherwise wouldn't have selected? Maybe. I don't know. I think the takeaway message is site networks may be your friend here.
Yep, I would agree.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we covered it all.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And I know we played the guessing game with Chris on what episode this is. You want to take another guess?
Well, it's not in the 300s, so 435.
What if you are exactly right?
Well, the last time you asked me was before COVID, so we were like in the 200s, I think.
And I've been on lockdown a lot this year, so
yeah.
Let's see. We are, and if you're listening to this, you already know what we're on because I say at the beginning. What did you say?
435.
Close. This will be 454.
That's not too far off.
Pretty good.
19 off.
The first guess you had, you were like 150 off. You said like 312.
3 something. I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, Chris. I think 312 was when I beat you the first time in fantasy football when you got me the George Kittle.
You're so funny.
Chris just continues to take losses from me. Luckily for him, we didn't do fantasy football this year. But
we have no idea if that was lucky for me or lucky for you.
You know what? On a side note, you could turn it off if you're not interested, guys. Chris, on a side note, I was watching football yesterday, probably the most I've watched all year. It's a week 12. You're not missing much so far, but I was thinking about fantasy, and I was like, you know what? If I was gonna pick a year to go 3-0, this would be the perfect excuse to why I couldn't do it. Because they're canceling games and playing them on Tuesdays. The best players, if they get COVID, or even if they've been exposed to COVID, sit that game. So there's a lot of like weird injuries.
So luck. Year. There's a lot of luck involved.
I don't know if it's luck, but like you would be pissed if you had Lamar Jackson and he can't play against like a dream matchup that you had.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of luck.
I guess that's luck. Yeah.
Well, you know, every year
randomness. Yeah.
Every year you don't want your top 3 guys to, or anybody on your team, but especially the top 3 guys to get injured, like season ending.
Saquon's already gone from week 2. I think he was like season ending.
Right, but that's brutal to your fantasy team, right? Mm-hmm. So now you get to add the component of, do they get sick, right? Do they get COVID? Now they got to be out for 3 or 4 weeks for that.
Yeah.
So just an added element.
And my sleeper quarterback for the third year would have been Sam Darnold, and he has another bad year. So it looks like the train has left that station this
Yeah,
year.
and he would have been your pick this year. He'd been like your pick in the 14th round, and you've been screwed. So,
I was debating between him or Kyler Murray, like to go up and pick Kyler Murray. And
but he would have gone much higher. But he would have
yeah,
gone much higher.
Kyler
Much
Murray would have
higher.
gotten higher. The guy you could have stolen and not even drafted was the Chargers quarterback,
Yeah.
the rookie. But anyways, maybe next year, who knows? We'll do fantasy again, or maybe
Well,
not.
I do miss fantasy. It was one of the things I looked forward to all year.
Yeah, well, it's a weird year to say the least. So maybe
Yeah.
it's best that we all sat it out this year.
Yep. Yep.
Well, thank you
Yep.
guys for listening, watching. Hopefully, it helped your question. And if you're someone like the listener, reach out 949-415-6256 or Chris at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. And that's Chris at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Send all complaints, concerns, and questions to him. And
Thank you very much. Just what I want.
all later.
Just what I
Bye-bye.
want. Bye bye.